Welcome to today's video, guys. Today we've got a very special car, and this is a Range Rover Sport SVR, and this is one of my favorite cars, one of my all-time favorites, and I've been so excited to get this review done. The SVR is a car that since it came out I was excited to get my hands on one of them and just be able to drive one day. And honestly, it's a car that I've always dreamed of owning, even though I didn't really know that much about it. And I've been driving this one for a while now, just got to grips with it, and truly it's lived up to my expectations. A lot of people say don't meet your heroes, and it's true when you maybe thought about something or dreamed about what something would be like for years on end, and you never actually know what the true experience is going to be like until you can go and experience it yourself. And in this case, I haven't been let down. This car has not let me down in any way. This has exceeded my expectations in every way. I've just been completely blown away by the way this car drives. A special car. The way it pulls is so crazy. So I'm just going to do a quick walk around of the car. I'm going to show you the interior and exterior features. So let's have a look at this Range Rover. Alright, let's just have a walk around of the vehicle. We've got these massive big brake calipers down here, and these really do a very good job of stopping the car at speed. We've got the lovely LED headlights in here. I'm not sure if these are LED or laser, but I'll find out. And these are really cool because you see these 4 beams here. These actually light up the road as you're going along. So as you're driving down the street at night when it's pitch black, you've got the high beam coming on, selectively lighting up different parts of the road, and it intelligently detects if there's another car in the perimeter. It will actually block out the beam of light from going on that particular car, so that you're not blinding other people. So it's really good. It's quite a nice system of automatic headlights. Right, down here we've got the SVR badge in the front grille, just so you know that this is an SVR. And we've got big aggressive vents in the front as well. All right, come around to the side as well. We've got the lovely sleek profile, and I think this color combination actually looks really good. We've got the black on the top and the blue below, so the two-tone color comes out really nice on this particular car. Right, if we come towards the back here, we've got these quad exhausts down here, and these are actually real. A lot of cars these days, you see a lot of people put these fake grills, not great grills, see a lot of people put fake exhaust tips on their Range Rovers to try and make them look like the SVR. The SVR is the real deal. These are real exhausts, and they sound really good. Alright guys, so this is the size of the boot. As you can see, there's loads of space back here. One thing that's really cool about these Range Rovers is that you can actually adjust the height of the car by pressing these buttons here to lower or raise the suspension. I think it has to be just when the engine has just been running or when the car is switched on, but you can do that, and that's really cool to make it easier to load the luggage into the boot if you're moving in or out a lot of shopping and stuff like that. All right, let's have a look. Let's have a look in the interior. So as you get into the car, one thing that I really like is you've got SVR on all of the screens. Come up and you've got this really nice blacked out finish across all of the screens. It looks really good. You've also got the carbon fiber trim down here as well. Carbon fiber here, carbon fiber on the doors as well. Let's just get the door shut so I can tell you a bit more about this infotainment system. Alright, so we've got our top screen here, and this is your main infotainment screen. So here you've got your navigation, and you can pretty much do all your standard stuff like connect to your phone via Bluetooth and play. You can also plug in a USB stick and load up videos and films that you'd want to watch inside the car as well. And down here you've got your touch climate controls. So this also pairs with this screen as well. So as you can see, you've got media library, and you can select the video source or audio source as well. But you've got your climate controls here. So you've got your heated seat controls. You can switch on the heated seats to turn them off here. You've also got the climate controls that functions down here. I think this is really nice. It works really well. And then you've got settings for the climate as well. These buttons down here feel really good. You just push in if you want to control the seat functions, and then you've got down here the shifting knob, and you can put the gearbox into sports mode by pulling down like this and pushing over, and then you'd be in sports mode just like that. It's a really quick way to get going a lot faster, and the gear shifts are quite aggressive in sports compared to the normal drive mode. And you've also got your ride height adjustment if you want to raise or lower the vehicle down. You've got a hill descent control, and then you can switch between your drive modes like this. Let me not skip out low range as well if you need that and you're taking this car off-road. I don't know if a lot of people will be taking this car off-road, but if you're someone who's buying this to go off-road, then that will be useful for you. So these this knob here controls your different drive modes. So you've got your standard comfort, you've got your eco, you've got your dynamic mode, and you've also got your off-road functions for snow driving, mud ruts, sand, and also rock climbing. So there's quite a lot that you can do here. Another thing I think is really cool is regardless of which mode that you're in, you can still control the exhaust valves by just pressing this here, and that actually opens up the valves of the exhaust so you can hear it in its fullness. Now if I put the car into dynamic, in dynamic mode, if I press this button here, on the top screen you can now adjust your setup. So if you want to go into if you want to change the way the engine is working, for example, and have that in comfort and everything else in dynamic, you can really customize exactly what you want in this mode. So if you wanted, let's say, the steering to be in comfort and the rest of the car to be in dynamic, that kind of stuff is possible through this mode here. Directly in front of you, you've got this wide LCD display, which is your digital dash, and this is really nice. I found it a little bit confusing to get used to. The main thing for me that I don't like about this is that there's no back button per se, so you have to really just figure out how to use the menu functions just by going through these buttons here, which I didn't find that intuitive. So you really have to get used to this before you can use it, which is a bit more confusing than other cars that I've been in, that I can get inside the car and straight away get going with it. Now you've also got your source, your phone controls here, it's all standard stuff. You've got your lane keep assist, heater steering wheel, and then your cruise control functions here as well. One thing I love about the inside of this car is the carbon fiber steering wheel here. You can really feel the grains of carbon here. This is a really nice touch, especially because it feels like a very high quality piece. Now in this particular car, we've got a sunroof as well, which is a really nice touch. And I think on a car like this is a must. You have to spec this with a sunroof if you're going to go for a car like this. And you've also got your electric blinds, which you can adjust and bring over like this with these controls here. But with the sunroof open, it's a really nice feeling. You can get the full sound of the car as well. So this is what the rear seats look like. You've got lots of space back here and the same styling as up front in the car. And one thing I haven't mentioned already is these seats. Look at these seats, guys. They look so good. And it really sets apart this car from the standard Range Rover Sport. Before we continue with the rest of the review, I need to take a moment to give a big shout out to 247vehiclehire.com. 247 Vehicle Hire have a wide range of vehicles available to rent for every occasion. Check out the link to their website in the description and in the comment section. Both this SVR and the black RS7 that I reviewed in my previous video are 247 vehicles that are available to rent from their website today. So definitely check them out and have a look. One thing I love about this car is the huge presence that it has on the road, and it really surprises you. You just don't expect it to move so quickly. It just feels unnatural for something of this size just to glide along the road effortlessly when you want it to. If you don't put this car in sports or dynamic mode, which is the full-on aggressive sports mode, and you just drive this normally, this is a car that you can daily drive. This is a car that you can live with, and this is a car that's comfortable enough to do long road trips in. Everything about this is just smooth and refined, and by no means is this not a proper Range Rover. This is a proper Range Rover. What do I mean by a proper Range Rover? By that I mean everything about it just feels very well put together. And I'm not talking about build quality, because I know that there's some issues with Land Rover's build quality in general, and it doesn't have the greatest of reputations in terms of reliability. But when it comes to the way it makes you feel and the way you feel so relaxed and just absorbed into the experience of driving this car, that's something that is quite hard to understand unless you really experience it yourself. And I can really understand why, despite Land Rovers getting a lot of hate for the build quality and the reliability of their cars, why a lot of people just can't let go of these cars. Like, it's a risk that you're willing to take, that occasionally things might go wrong just so you can enjoy this, because it's just so refined in the way that it drives. Now, I don't mean to talk ill of these cars when I'm talking about reliability. A lot of people might come for me in the comment section and say, oh, I've owned a Range Rover for years. My brother or dad or sister had one for X amount of time and never had a single issue. I don't know what people are talking about when they talk about reliability issues. Well, these cars, people have mixed experiences. There have been SVR owners who have had their engines blow up, like just blow up, throw a piston randomly. And honestly, it's been something that's been scaring me while I'm driving this car, that is something going to happen randomly. But I think the thrill and the driving experience that you get kind of overpowers that fear and worry that's going on. I think it's something that you just have to be prepared for. If you're willing to spend the amount that it's going to cost to run a car like this in the first place, you're going to have to factor in maintenance. I would say this is the kind of car that you want to buy with a warranty, or at least a big pot of savings to spend on it when things need attention. The tech in this is, as you would expect for a car of this price point, these SVRs start from over £100,000. That's the cheapest model you can get of this car, without any additional spec. The particular model that I'm driving now, you've got adaptive cruise control, so you just set the distance and it will follow the car in front. You haven't got self-steering, but you have got your active lane assist, so it will give you more or less a warning when you're straying off your lane and vibrate the steering wheel. And you've also got your heated seats, which you'd expect to come as standard on this model. One thing that is missing from this car, and I don't know if it's available on the SVR or it's just not spec'd on this particular car, is massaging seats, and that's something that you'd typically find on like an autobiography standard Range Rover Sport. Honestly guys, it's hard for me to put in words just how much I enjoy driving this car. It is so loud, so aggressive, and everything I like about a sports car. Yet it's a comfortable family SUV. Like, I can put so much in the back. There's leg room for 3 people in the back of this car, and they could sit comfortably back there with no problems. And the boot is quite large as well. Could probably put a whole bunch of things in there, luggage, bikes, whatever you want to store in the back there. And yet the car still performs and handles like this. It's just out of this world. It's mind-blowing for me. I don't know how they've done it and executed it so well. The maintenance on these cars are not cheap. The tires are expensive, the brakes are expensive, and it's not going to cost you the same money that it will cost to run a normal Range Rover Sport. It's just not the same car. It's a very different beast. Another thing about these cars, which applies to all Range Rover Sports, all Range Rovers, and particularly the SVR because it's the top model of Range Rover Sport, is the attraction to thieves and the attention that this car gets, the unwanted attention. I've spoken about the positive attention that when you're driving down the road in this car, people tend to turn their heads and look around and see what's that growling V8 is coming down the street, and it's a car that turns a lot of eyes, but it doesn't always turn eyes in the best way. A lot of you might know that Range Rover insurance in this country right now is insane. The prices of insurance for these cars are ridiculous. A lot of people are selling their Range Rovers just because they can't get any affordable insurance quotes for them. And it somewhat makes sense. These cars are stolen so often, and in some cases are quite easy to steal as well, meaning that you have to buy additional protections, additional security systems and features installed, and extra things just to protect yourself that you'd want to get fitted, such as a ghost immobilizer, trackers. You want several trackers in these cars just to give yourself peace of mind. This isn't the kind of car that you just buy, you can park on the street and go inside the shops and not think about it. This is the kind of car that you can go inside, grab yourself a drink or sandwich or something, come back outside and it's gone. Disappeared just like that, gone in 30 seconds. This is a car that you have to be on top of and just keep an eye on, a close eye on. You can't just expect that no one's going to look at this and not try and steal it. And I guess it's one thing that stresses people out owning a car like this compared to something that gets a bit less attention. I think the last video I recorded in the Audi RS7, a lot of people will see an RS7 and not necessarily be able to differentiate it from an ordinary A7, especially if it's not in sports mode. Whereas this car, it turns heads. It's a looker for sure. Everyone who sees this car knows that either it's a heavily done up Range Rover, or if they know their cars, they know that it's an SVR. And that is something that's quite uncomfortable at times. I would say even in the short time that I've been reviewing this car, every time I've parked up somewhere or I've been by myself and I've been recording clips on my own, I've felt quite uneasy and uncomfortable. And I'm always looking around, watching my back and thinking, am I going to get robbed with this car? Is someone going to want to put a knife to my back and tell me to give the keys over or hand the keys over? So I'm not saying it's something that happens every day, but it's something to be mindful of, and it's something that is the reality of the world that we live in, especially in London. You can't just walk around with blindfolds on and expect that everything's going to be honky-dory. It's not. What life doesn't work like that. These cars, if you want attention, you're going to get the good attention and the bad attention. I'll put it that way. But yeah, that's enough negative talk. I think the driving experience of this car just outweighs everything. Every bit of stress and baggage that comes with the ownership of this car, the way it performs and the way it makes you feel while it's doing it just outweighs all of that. All of it. There aren't many roads in the UK, or I would say especially around the London area, that you can put your foot down and stay under the speed limit. Whereas in this car, it's just so loud, the acceleration is so brutal that you can have fun without speeding. You can have fun staying under 60 miles an hour, and it's brilliant. Power-wise, this car is quick. I know you expect it to be quick, but I'll give you the numbers now. This has 575 brake horsepower, and it will do 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. For a car of this size that just feels like a tank when you're driving it, that is still mind-blowing to me. There's other cars that will give you a similar experience to this and are also big, powerful SUVs. You've got your Mercedes GLE 63, you've also got the BMW X5M, and all of the other large cars that BMW make that are performance powerhouses. Same with Mercedes, you've got the G-Wagons, the G63s, and even the GLS models. You've got a GLS 63 as well. So there's a lot of cars that are out there that appeal to people who want big heavy cars that can also perform. And I wouldn't say that I didn't fully understand the appeal before, because I've always been someone who's wanted a smaller car, something lower down to the ground that is really grippy. You know, you're never gonna break traction unless you're trying to play around, something that handles really nicely. And this is not that kind of car. This is quite different, but it has a unique appeal of just feeling like you're sitting on top of the world at this height, yet still in control of such a large, powerful car. Man, it's something else. It really is something else. Other bits of spec that this car has, you've got your Meridian sound system, which also has Dolby surround sound, and you can switch between your different surround sound modes to get a different audio experience. Also built-in subwoofers as well, and which really gives the bass in this car a good kick if that's what you're into. And then you've got your touch climate controls down here as standard, and these are generally really nice to use. In my Audi review that I posted recently, one of the complaints I had about the Audi infotainment and touchscreen infotainment in general is that I feel like it takes your attention off the road to be able to use it. One thing I like about the Range Rover Sport is that you don't have to, the buttons on the screen are so big, you don't have to take your eyes off the road for very long to be able to press it. And eventually, after owning this car for a while, I'm sure you'll get to the point where you know where things are and can just put your hand down there and press buttons on the screen from memory without having to look down and see where they are each time. There's a lot of big, powerful 4x4s that may not be necessarily capable on a rough dirt track, or climbing up a steep incline, or wading through deep water. Range Rover Sport, not a problem. These cars are so capable, and I can vouch for that. I went on a Land Rover off-roading experience a few years ago, and we got to drive in some off-road terrain, do some descents, some climbs, and even some driving up some steep angles and sideways and all sorts of stuff, wading through deep water. And you really don't feel that scared, especially if you know what you're doing. In my case, I was with an instructor who knew what they were doing. They knew the track that we were going along pretty well, and they had a lot of faith in the car. And I think once you can trust in the car's abilities, it's just you feel like you can go anywhere in one of these. You have the confidence to drive anywhere you want. One thing that's worth talking about is the fuel consumption of this car. And when I was recording this video, I was already thinking in my head of how I was going to tell you guys how this thing is such a big thirsty animal. It drinks so much petrol, and it's been draining my wallet. But in reality, it hasn't been that bad. With all of the driving that I've done throughout this video so far, I've been averaging 17 miles per gallon. It's not a great figure, but considering what you're getting out of it, it's actually not that bad. I mean, people say, oh, these cars are so thirsty, they're guzzlers, you can't possibly drive something like this regularly unless you want a massive bill to face when it comes to fuel. I don't think it's that bad. It really isn't. This isn't a car that I would buy if I was doing a long distance commute every day, but it's not a car that I would be scared of owning because of the fuel costs. I think that's a factor for me that I was worried about before that has been completely put off from my mind now. I wouldn't be worried about filling this car up. The reality is, if you can afford this car in the first place, you can probably afford to fill it up. So it's just something to think about if you're considering one of these. If you're in a position to be able to consider one of these cars, you can probably afford the fuel if you're not doing a really long distance commute every day. That's all for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed, please like, share and subscribe. See you next time.